Hi, I'm Nick Shell, and if you're watching this video, which you probably are, there's a good chance you've also watched another video, which is the video of me performing my original song, Middle of a Mess. So if somehow you haven't seen that or heard the song, just look in the description of this video, there's a link in there. You can easily check out the 3-minute and 10-second song, Middle of a Mess. So what I do in these videos is I, as the author of the song, go through the lyrics and explain why I chose those words. Because I recognize that with any song, you can hear it as the listener and different images can come to your mind. And then you may start to assume, well, what did the author of this song intend? What was going through his head when he wrote these words down? That's what we're going to do in this. So Middle of a Mess is interesting because it was back in the fall of 2019 that I regularly started cranking out new original songs. That's something I had really wanted to do at a time in my life as I was still sort of sorting through my existential crisis of being 38, and now I've actually turned 39 this week. But it was important to me that I start finding out what's inside of me as far as songs go. Because it's interesting, because do you ever think about this? Whether you write songs or not, it's a matter of you can compose a song, you can have a tune, you can know the chords, but what's the song going to be about? And a lot of times it's the composition of the chords, the sound of it, that sort of brings to life what the song is. So when I came up with the bass line, which is what the song starts out, I thought, this sounds a bit almost, we're descending into chaos is what that feels like we're doing. And I recently watched a YouTube video talking about word painting. In other words, you want the music to sound like the words that you're doing. So this song is full of it because I was composing this song in the middle of understanding that concept. So we have this descent into the chaos because I'm dropping down in chords. And then we begin with a seemingly calm first, well, actually I start with the actual chorus instead of the first verse. So here it is. I'm in the middle of a mess right now. A situation where up is down. No need to panic. Though I'm feeling frantic, can I just think straight? I'm in the middle of a mess right now. I'm still working it out. I don't know how this will all come together in another hour. When my time runs out, I'm in the middle of a mess right now. So ultimately, the concept of this song is, life is full of these moments where we are in the midst of chaos. And we get to decide whether we want to have a default of victim mentality. Oh no, I can't believe this happened to me. I don't deserve this. I deserve better. Somebody save me. Or we can have what I call is the non-default. We have to be proactive to think this way. The victorious mindset. Instead of victim mentality, victorious mindset. How can I find my own way out of this or through it? Because sometimes you can't get around it or over it or under it. You've got to get through it. You just got to get through it. And that's exactly what this song is. This is making a conscious decision. I'm going to have to figure this thing out myself. I've got to go through this thing. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but it's what I've got to do. So these concepts of MacGyver, I just told you I turned 39 this week. So I grew up with a show called MacGyver, which is ridiculous if you go back on Hulu and watch it. But it was always, he somehow found some way to escape whatever weird sci-fi situation he found himself in with, as everybody knows, a paperclip, a piece of chewing gum, and a pencil, whatever it was. He'd always find a way. I remember I was in kindergarten when this aired. It was like 1986. But somehow he got trapped in this dome, and something about like it was toxic gas in there. So he like breathed on this glass dome or whatever he was in, and he wrote backwards the code so that his friend outside could type it into the computer, and that's what saved him. So I was thinking about that when I was writing the verses. So I want to get into those because that was a lot of the context. Also, my wife and I just finished last night amazing series Waco on Netflix. And it tells the other side from within the compound of Waco, Texas. David Koresh, I was, in junior high when that actually happened. And we were led to believe one version of the story. Here's the other version. I loved it. and it also kind of feeds into this concept of in the midst of chaos, trying to escape. Don't know how I'm going to figure my way out, but if I try, I'm going to be able to do this because I'm still alive now. So I do want to point out though, in this song, from the first time you hear the chorus, you're already hearing the theatrics of what I'm doing with this song. I was very intentional in starting it out with that bass line descent into the chaos. It's kind of slow. It's like, where are we going? It's like a roller coaster going down instead of going up. What's happening? And then you get into the chorus, you understand there's a problem here. And it starts out relatively calm. But then, when it gets to the end of that chorus, I went from singing my normal voice, which I don't know whether you want to say it's a mix between tenor and baritone, whatever it is. And so I'm singing normal, then all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of it. I go into falsetto. I'm in the middle of a mess. And that's called your head voice. So the falsetto, the almost whispering to but I'm not necessarily projecting from my diaphragm. I'm in the middle of a mess right now. So in one phrase, you have falsetto, you have head voice, and you have sing from my diaphragm, my actual voice. I'm in the middle of a mess right now. Can you hear that? And that's more of that descent, because while the first chorus started out a bit calm and normal, now we're going to be getting a little bit chaotic. So you get a little bit of that tension, that break. I stop playing at certain points to create that tension. And of course, obviously, penning those words where it says, when my time runs out, and I don't play. And then from there, we're like, wait, time runs out? And then chaos. I'm in the middle of a mess right now. So there we go. That was very intentional. Now let's get to those MacGyver lyrics. First verse. 7 minutes into this video, I'm just now getting to the first verse. Half past dead, hanging by a thread. Can I hack the password before the light turns red? And again, I'm picturing MacGyver. I feel like so many episodes. He was trying to avoid this light turning red and an alarm going off. Firewall, smoke alarm. So that's implying that I have failed. I'm trying, but I've already failed. I've hit a firewall. Now it's a play on words because fire and smoke. Firewall, smoke alarm. In other words, my first attempt didn't work. Now there's an alarm going off. Can I crack the code before I'm in the dark? Not only is the light going to turn red, but now the power's going to go out. Even though I just now watched finish it last night with the Waco thing that happened, and then where the power went out. So there you go. And then we do the chorus again. Now to the second verse. Am I locked out or am I locked in? Now this verse is less about MacGyver and more about an internal struggle. Because what I wanted to point out is that a lot of times, whatever chaos you're going through, whatever your perceived problem is, a lot of the time, it's less about the actual problem and more about what's going on in your head. It's psychological. A lot of times, in order to solve the perceived problem, you've got to sort out yourself first. And that's what I wanted to tackle in this emotionally intelligent second verse. Am I locked out or am I locked in? What's the perspective on this? That's a fundamental question we need to know. Am I locked out? Am I trying to get in or am I trying to get out of the situation? Am I trapped inside the fun house? So is this even the kind of problem I think it is, or is this just something that's more of a red herring of a problem? Is this real? Now we're leading into we got to question this. Is this an actual real problem, or is it all in our head? Man versus, so I have an English degree, so I'm very aware of plot lines and that sort of thing. So a lot of times we look at a plot line as man versus whatever. So man versus self, that's a big one. That's something I cover a lot in my songs. Is this ultimately am I competing against myself? Am I the ultimate problem? Man versus machine. I've mentioned the computers before. Sometimes our problems are technological. Next, man versus matrix, man versus dream. So again, ultimately, is this a lot less of an issue? Is this a bigger, and is this just a little perceived problem as the scheme of someone else's bigger plan? Because a lot of times it is. A lot of times we're going through all of this when ultimately it's something bigger than us, something out of our control. and we're trying to fix something that ultimately maybe we can't. Again, another reference to Waco, and now that I've seen it and finished it last night, that was ultimately the case. The good guys in that, both on the FBI side and with inside the compound, there were good guys on both sides. They were both pitted up against an impossible to solve situation. So there you go. There's all the words to the song. This has definitely been a challenging song for me. What's amazing, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I started writing back in the fall, really cranking out these songs. What turns out, I did one called, well, I can't even think of the name of it, but it was back like in October. And in this song, I was writing it, and that's when I came with the bass line and the chord progression and the concept, Middle of a Mess. I had to rewrite the verses like 2 or 3 times in order to get this right. So it's taken me like 7 months to get this. And so after I finished some songs last week on here, I decided, let me go through my lyric book and see what abandoned projects, and I found Middle of a Mess. I went on my phone and listened to the original chords and melody and thought, okay, let me finish this. So it was a struggle. During COVID-19 lockdown, my kids were outside playing in the court, and I had this out here, and as I'm watching them play, I'm writing down these words. That's ultimately how I wrote this song, sort of in the midst of chaos. Final thought, also my wife and I, for the first time and only time, I watched the movie Contagion. And if you've seen that movie, you know that ultimately it's this whole concept of chaos, trying to figure this out. The odds are against us from several different angles. And when the movie ends, it's not like all the problems are solved, but at least they have direction on getting through it. And that's all you need. It's like the end of Castaway with Tom Hanks. Is everything perfectly resolved? No, but it doesn't need to be, because we get enough direction of how we're going to get through this. I would love to hear your thoughts and comments right here.